IBCM ethical wise, preventing the sovereign token deficit, operationalizing quantum-wise governance in the Delhi Industrial Policy 2025-2035. IBCM ethical wise, the low-cost quantum office, corporate norm, corporate management, orbiter mission.
Copyright, corporate mom, corporate management orbiter mission.
Substance over simulation. In an era where simulation masquerades as governance and automation is mistaken for wisdom, IBCM offers a different path. This is not a manifesto of resistance. It is a manifesto of radiance, where governance is not simulated, but substantiated. Welcome to the executive summary. Averting the Inference time bomb and securing Delhi's industrial sovereignty 2025-2035. In this page, what we are looking at is a strategic context, the macroeconomic asset, as well as the dark value. Please take a look at it. I'm also playing out the intro from a deep dive. At the end of this presentation, I'm providing you with a transcript as well as the deep dive audio file and as well as the video file. It's a very interesting one besides whatever the slides which I'm giving here. It's a very serious subject as far as I'm concerned, and what we have to look at is the solution part of it. So it's a major one which is coming now, since in my opinion after the 2008 fiasco of financial problems, it can come again. So that's why I say the macroeconomic asset, how to come out of it. And I'm explaining it through these slides, particularly in terms of what the Delhi sovereignty industry 2025-2035 policy can be readjusted, knowing pretty well what is coming through. Thank you.
Imagine for a second that you could measure the wealth of a city or, an entire state, not just by counting the cash in its treasury, but by actually measuring the optimized, realized energy of its workforce.
Right.
Like imagine a system where idle human potential isn't just this philosophical tragedy, but an exact quantifiable loss on a corporate balance sheet.
Yeah, a literal financial metric.
Exactly. So welcome to this deep dive. Today, we are looking at a stack of strategic documents that are, quite frankly, unlike anything we usually see in public policy.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it is a massive paradigm shift. What we're looking at is a highly ambitious governance framework designed to help India achieve its Viksit Bharat, or developed India, targets by the year 2047.
Right.
And the approach it takes to get there is just completely unorthodox.
Yeah, and our sources today are a fascinating collection authored by J. Arman Raja Iyer. We've got a policy brief proposing a Delhi Sovereign Value Fund, strategy notes directed to the Delhi government regarding AI sovereignty, an approach paper sent to FICCI.
That's the Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry.
Right.
In this page, I'm talking about the solution. IBCM ethical wise and valuation clusters. The important point is that the industrial zones must be transformed into valuation clusters. Very important. Number two is metric shift. We must pivot from cost accounting to human energy as the denominator. Number three, a second slit expansion. The second slit is qualitative elements of management. Out of 316, second slit occupy nearly 96% qualitative elements that AI is not in a position to figure out. It's very important. AI is taking into account only the quantitative elements of management. In this page, we are talking about the policy directives for the draft industrial policy 2025-2035. Directive 1. Mandatory AVR audits for tech procurement. Go through it carefully to avoid any hazard. Directive 2 is valuation cluster certifications is equally important. Number 3 is architectural firewall and localized edge compute. In my opinion, is the most important thing. We got to develop our own methodology. One thing which I would like you to tell you, when Trump went to China, he could not sell anything. All these big techs have spent trillions of dollars. They want customers. The customers are being given by India, not by China. China, they have their own. We got to have our own technology in our own way of doing without spending, without transferring big time US dollars to big tech. And this is the danger we are now at the moment, which we are discussing in this particular presentation. This page I am mentioning about codicil to directive number 3, the low-cost quantum office. The codicil prioritizes activation over automation. What we require is activation of human energy, not the automation. That's where the quantum office comes, to utilize the inherent energy of its workforce. Number 2 is a structural logic mapping. Developers must utilize lightweight symbolic architectures that eliminate unnecessary cloud inference loops. Number 2. Number 3, sovereign asset development. The state mandates the creation of conduct of the people's knowledge base. That is lacking. Our knowledge base on the conduct of the people anywhere in the world, in any company, is zero. So here we are looking at the number 5, implementation roadmap and institutional roles. The institutional roles of 4-step adoption sequence is tricky, is that they have to take care of certain specific areas. An adoption by Delhi, asymmetrical OS, a valuation enhancement, royalty redistribution, commissioner of industry anchor the Delhi Sovereign Value Fund, act as the lead licensor of quantum SOS governance technology, and societal value redistribution, how it brings about a change, complete change and coherence between the society and the industry and the state. Finally, the closing remark, the Delhi Sovereign Value Fund. The culmination of this strategy is the Delhi Sovereign Value Fund, a mechanism modeled after Norway's oil fund. This fund captures incremental valuations, not mere taxes, through equity-linked compensation. By capturing the unseen wealth currently lost to the inference time bomb, the state ensures that industrial growth is redistributed for civilizational advancement. Purity is coherence, the quantum key to human governance. The vision, Viksit Delhi 2047. The 2025-2035 draft policy rightly targets global leadership in service tech and clean industries. At Baprola, frontier tech and AI. At Kanijawala, knowledge-based ITES. Ranikera, modern services and R&D. But achieving Industry 5.0 requires moving beyond predictive oversight and establishing a new physics of productivity for Delhi's 10 million plus workforce. The macroeconomic hazard, the inference time bomb, the threats. Renting foreign AI model tokens exports the state's financial value. We are entering a high capital GP arms race that drains domestic liquidity. The oil import style current account deficit of the AI era. The API tokens can take you for a ride. Besides, the system hemorrhage, we got to depend on the foreign tech partnership. The goal is to localized value circulation. Defining the threat. What is dark value? Definition: technological simulation that masks human stagnation. Company: human energy, underutilized workforce. We have continuous API costs. Idle human capacity, underutilized workforce, plus continuous external cloud pings, constant API cost, that means, is equal to dark value. Decelerated value recovery. Current management only sees the first slit, the tangible, the quarterly profits. To see the second slit, the ethics, you need the IBCM ethical bias. Traditional cost accounting ignores this drain. When the AI tool object is prioritized over the worker subject, the state wealth collapses into dark value. The strategic solution, the corporate atomic principle, nucleus, protons, robust policies, the stabilizing core, state directives, IAS 9, integration, orbits, the electrons, transparent practices, the dynamic energy, corporate management, accelerated value return, core mass, the neutrons, the people, society at the center, human energy as the denominator, Delhi's workforce. Industry 5.0 will not be built on silicon alone. Delhi must mandate the subject-object self as well as governance structure to align the erratic electron energy of companies with a stable state policy nucleus. The paradigm shift, inference dependency versus valuation clusters. What the inference dependency is one, valuation cluster number two. Architectural focus. In inference dependency, a generative token consumption, cloud SAS. In valuation clusters, structural logic mapping, localized edge compute. Economic impact, capital flight, high operational latency, foreign US dollars drain. In valuation clusters, capital retention, localized wealth, accelerated value return, AVR. Number three, human role. In inference dependency, automation replacing humans, rising inactivity index. In valuation clusters, human-centric activation, measuring human energy optimization. Delhi does not need to enter a GPU arms race. High developer productivity can be achieved by shifting to non-token dependent optimization software. Translating a strategy to action. Directive 1. Mandate AVR audits for tech procurement. Blueprint to action. Number 2. Establish valuation cluster certifications. Number 3. Incentivize localized edge compute and symbolic architecture. The context note. These three mandatory insertions for the Delhi Industrial Policy 2025 to 2035 will protect the upcoming tech hubs from collapsing into high-rent digital colonies. Directive 1. Mandate accelerated value return AVR audits. The input checkpoint. State financial incentives. Venture capital, 50% of capital, reimbursement, GST waivers, etc. The gate, the governance gate, AVR audit. Requirement to submit an AVR forecast for any AI software investment exceeding designated thresholds. What is the output? Output criteria must prove that tech reduces operational latency without creating long-term foreign currency dependency, SaaS token traps. Replaces archive ex post facto statistics with velocity-based oversight. Directive 2. Establish valuation cluster certifications. Beprola, Ranikera, Kanijawala. Certification criteria. Low structural inactivity index. High human to machine value integration ratio. Adoption of IBCM ethical OS. State reward. Certified units receive professional utility pricing, plug and play facility access, and sovereign credit ratings. If the state can measure the inactivity index of its industrial hubs, it can move from being a regulator to being a facilitator of human energy. Directive 3. Incentivize localized edge compute. 3 areas of attention. External API cloud. 2. Architectural firewall. 3. Domestic economy. Policy action. Provide targeted state grants to ITES companies within Delhi that develop non-token dependent optimization software. The philosophy. Focus on algorithmic efficiency and symbolic architecture rather than large model inference. The goal. Eliminate unnecessary cloud inference loops to keep data intelligence and currency strictly within domestic boundaries. The new codicil, the low-cost quantum office, the flow. Instead of workers being minimized to reduce costs, their human energy is designated as the primary denominator of productivity. The core, activation over automation. The perimeter, localized edge compute service and lightweight logic mapping surround workers, acting as tools, not replacements. The quantum office model fundamentally rejects the premise that human stagnation equals efficiency. It uses lightweight technology to eliminate machine waiting times and maximize human contextual intelligence. Building the conduct of the people knowledge base. Input 20,000 X teams. Localized edge compute capturing worker decisions, ethics, and logic in real-time human intelligence optimization. Synthesis. The IBCM ethical OS processing intangible inputs. Output. Conduct of the people knowledge base. Edge compute doesn't replace the worker. It captures, elevates their contextual brilliance into a sovereign capitalized intellectual property asset, replacing the flaw of IND EAS 38, incorporated from IAS 38, with IAS 9 principles. A sovereign outcome. royalty redistribution, employment towards prosperity redistribution. Step 1. Eradicate dark value. Unlock accelerated value return, AVR. Step 2. Tech providers and users pay royalties based on incremental valuation gains. Step 3. Capital flows into the Delhi Sovereign Value Fund. Step 4. Societal value redistribution, SVR. Funding welfare, innovation, and clean industries. Delhi's legacy, civilizational licensor by 2047. From participant, low-cost manufacturing hub, importing black box tech, to civilizational licensor, exporting the quantum key to human governance. By designating Delhi as a proof of concept state for the IBCM ethical OIS, the state establishes a grammar of ethics validated by advanced AI, Grok, XAI, 1352 Socratic dialogues as on our 1600. Delhi will no longer just consume tech, it will license trust and SOS governance to advance economies worldwide. Immediate action steps for the drafting committee. Number 1. Acknowledge and align. Formally note the Minister of Industry's directive regarding the macroeconomic hazard of SAAS dependencies. Number 2. Adopt the standard. Designate the IBC Ethical OIS as a standard framework for the upcoming Delhi Industrial Policy 2025-2035. Number 3. Update draft text. Insert the low-cost quantum office, codicil, and AVR audit mandates into the guidelines for Baprola, Kanjiwala, and Ranikera. Number 4. Stakeholder pilot. Commission the Commissioner of Industry to pilot the inactivity index measurement across selected industrial units to establish the baseline for the Delhi Sovereign Value Fund. Purity is coherence, the quantum key to human governance. Viksit Bharat 2047, Architecting the Ethical Ways for Governance, SOS Governance. Take a look. I given the audio connection for by deep dive as well as the PDF. Both go through that. I'll just give one example of what deep dive has analyzed, which is very important. He says the speaker B, this isn't just an economic model. It consciously fuses quantum physics, specifically David Bohm's concept of the implicate order, with the ancient Indian philosophy, specifically Adi Shankara's concept of Advaita or non-dualism. Speaker A says, I have to admit, when I first read that, my brain short-circuited a bit. Number B says, is a lot. The speaker A says, quantum physics and Advaita philosophy applied to corporate accounting, you just don't see that on a standard MBA syllabus. So that's what deep dive analyzes. So the B schools have to look into it. It's not just Advaita philosophy. In fact, very many like Elon Musk and as well as OpenAI guy Sam Altman talks of the Indian philosophy of Advaita. It's very important superposition which I have arrived at. That apart, the research analysis that it can do, it also takes into account David Bohm's implicate order as well as explicate order. Explicit order is what we see. What you see is what you get. And that is what AI had attempted to do it, or trying to do that. Whereas implicate order is what very many of the quantum physics people have been talking about, but didn't get an answer. For example, Planck on consciousness, Bohm, as I said, non-locality, Young, particle wave duality, Schrödinger, entanglement, Kant, metaphysics, Einstein, physics. So we have a great amount of knowledge base of analyzing empirical research analytics we can do in a B school, which is not being done. That's why it says the MBA school. Are we doing it? No, we are not doing it. Take a look. Take a look at the deep dive audio as well as the PDF file I have given and analyze it. Every B school has to look into it if they want to promote the industry. What about the auditors? Take a look. They have failed, or they have been withholding the quantum key for several years. The reason? The next one will tell you.
The Viksit Bharat 2047 initiative outlines an aggressive timeline for national development. Realizing this vision requires a volume of civic infrastructure and technological expansion that currently exceeds state budgets. Attempting to finance development on this civilizational scale through traditional corporate taxation presents a mathematical dead end. Pushing tax rates high enough to meet these capital requirements would actively cripple the industrial growth needed to sustain the economy. Right now, industrial oversight is trapped in ERP-driven 3-year cycles, completely focused on predicting short-term, narrow quarterly profits. Escaping that stagnant loop requires a transition away from standard cost management, moving toward a long-term, verifiable accountability ecosystem. The proposed macroeconomic solution is the creation of a centralized financial architecture, specifically mapped here as the Delhi Sovereign Value Fund. The fund operates independently of standard tax revenue, capturing a reservoir of unrecognized wealth defined in this model as dark value. To fund continuous national prosperity, the state must account for the unmeasured intellectual wealth and human efficiency already embedded in current industries. The mechanical engine proposed to capture that wealth is the IBCM Ethical OS. By deconstructing this specific governance architecture, we can see exactly how a state intends to monetize invisible intellectual capital and convert it into hard public infrastructure. This chart outlines the 4-step roadmap that transforms internal corporate governance directly into state-level funding. Step 1 requires the state to formally adopt this framework as its baseline Subject-Object Self, or SOS, governance standard. In practice, this shifts the entire model of corporate oversight. Companies move away from predictive cost accounting and implement human-centric accountability protocols. Establishing this standard creates the technical baseline required for a rigorous mathematical calculation of a company's true operational worth. However, adopting the ethical OS merely builds the foundation. Actually generating state revenue from this new efficiency depends entirely on rewriting the rules of how intellectual property is audited. That brings us to step 2, recognizing and capitalizing intellectual capital. The primary obstacle preventing this step from happening today is modern accounting standards, specifically IND AS 38. Under IND AS 38, intangible assets like research, development, and intellectual property are classified as non-monetary, lacking physical substance. Treating innovation as vapor actively strips value from corporate balance sheets, severely obscuring the actual wealth a company holds. To understand the stem of this accounting omission, we can look at Holton's 2010 analysis, which estimated that failing to capitalize intangibles excluded $4.1 trillion from United States national accounts data in a single year. The specific volume of unrecorded intellectual capacity and unoptimized human energy constitutes the dark value of an economy. The framework's immediate solution is to petition the ICAI to scrap the IND AS 38 standard entirely and reinstate the older IAS 9 standard. The mechanical difference is highly consequential. IAS 9 allows for the direct capitalization of research, development, and IPR on the balance sheet. This capitalization identifies wealth already present within an organization that previously remained legally unmeasurable. By fixing this single accounting standard, the state mathematically validates a substantial upward revision in corporate valuation across the entire industrial sector. With that wealth finally visible, Step 3 establishes how the state captures it without levying punitive taxes. The ethical OS relies on a new corporate royalty structure driven by Accelerated Value Return, or AVR. The model utilizes a strict 5-point rating system to measure a company's transition from operational inefficiency up to optimal coherence. We see this applied to Indian industry giants in the framework's own metrics, where entities like M&M and RIL are assessed at a conceptual rating of 1. The distance between that baseline rating and the optimal standard of 5 forms the optimization gap. That gap is the exact measurable volume of dark value, representing the combined capacity of latent efficiency and capitalized IP a company can reclaim. This triggers the royalty mechanism. The state does not tax the company's baseline revenue. Instead, it charges a percentage royalty exclusively on the specific valuation leap achieved when the company closes that gap. The royalty functions strictly as a share of newly created growth, directly linking the state's revenue to the company's efficiency improvements. Through the AVR delta, corporate governance optimization becomes a direct, measurable liquidity event for the state. Step 4 dictates how those microeconomic royalties are transformed into macroeconomic infrastructure. The AVR royalties flow outward from the industries and pool directly into the centralized Delhi Sovereign Value Fund. The framework explicitly models the structure on the success of Norway's Sovereign Wealth Fund. But where Norway extracts physical petroleum from the North Sea to build its wealth, this model positions Delhi as a licensor of quantum SOS governance, extracting revenue from intellectual coherence. The pipeline operates cyclically. State royalties fund public welfare and civic innovation. That infrastructure breeds a stronger, more capable workforce, which returns to the corporate sector to generate even more intellectual property. Managing this cycle requires strict institutional scaffolding, relying on specific oversight and policy design roles from FICCI, CII, and ASOCHAM. This creates a closed-loop economic engine. The internal optimization of a single manufacturing firm directly finances the broader development of the civilization around it. However, this entire sovereign value fund architecture rests on a single fragile prerequisite: the absolute credibility of the auditing profession. The framework points to a decline in governance standards from 1998 onwards, an era where responsibility was shirked and balance sheets were aggressively cratered by poor intangible asset tracking. Repairing the system requires auditors to be held strictly accountable for accurately valuing intangible capital rather than merely checking boxes for basic compliance. The immediate mandate for industry leaders is clear: challenge the adoption of IND AS 38 to halt the ongoing erosion of corporate balance sheets. The path out of static ERP cycles relies entirely on recognizing dark value, capitalizing it, and channeling that optimization into continuous state infrastructure funding. The infrastructure targets set by the Viksit Bharat 2047 initiative demand a very specific, high-order volume of capital. Realizing this future requires a change in classification, treating human coherence, technological innovation, and intellectual capability as hard, measurable, and governable assets.